Hey everybody, here we are with a new episode, moving along in the story. And today I want to talk a little bit about navigating our way in the world after we leave, because this is not a very easy task. I'm pretty sure the older you are, it's probably harder. Being raised or being in a cult, it does affect us. And we feel that, and this is exactly what their plan is. They don't want you to leave the group. So they kind of assimilate you to the group. And when you leave the group, you notice, we are a little bit different. I don't really fit in. And they want you to run back to the group. This is the part where you have to overcome it. This is the part where you kind of have to accept that even in the world, there's people that are different. And there's some people that are judgmental. There will be people that are rude. There's gonna be that. You just have to find your worldly people, and they are out there. I think it's so important to find and make connections and kind of get out of our comfort zones and meet people. So I had one of my ex-JW friends tell me that wherever she goes, she really doesn't ever mention that she was a Jehovah's Witness. She doesn't want to talk about it, and that's totally fine. That's her decision. For me, it was a little bit different because I feel like on my part, if I'm open and honest, there will be people who think you're weird. There'll be people who look at you like, ugh. And then there's going to be people who are really extra kind. Then there's going to be people who understand how cults work even on a small level. But we are going to try to find those people that we can really form close friendships with, and even though maybe they haven't been in a cult, that try to understand, and they are out there. Like, I have a really good friend. She's a psychology major. She's always been there for me. I'm able to talk to her. I had a coworker that she saw me in the process of waking up. She saw me being a Jehovah's Witness, and she was kind to me then. And then my journey of waking up, she saw me then, and she was always just very loving. And so that is kind of like our tribe. We have to build our new tribe, our new connections. I think it was a little bit easier for the younger kids to assimilate. They almost seemed like really happy to not wear meeting clothes anymore. We started talking about things as a family and working through things and talk about how we feel about them. And one of the first things that we talked about were, do we really not keep celebrating birthdays? To me, that was even kind of always weird a little bit as a witness. I understood Easter and Christmas. I understood why we didn't do that. But birthdays are a little bit harder to explain, I feel like, because it's the day you were born. It's the day as a parent that your kiddo was born. It's a happy day. And if we can celebrate someone's day that they died, I don't understand why we can't celebrate the day that you were born. And the excuse that bad things happened on 2 birthdays in the Bible, it's really not valid, because, well, Jesus was betrayed by Judas on Passover, so are people not going to celebrate the memorial anymore? That's not really a valid excuse. That's kind of grasping for straws and cherry picking. But we worked through it, and we really came to the conclusion that it was one man, Rutherford, who at first, Jehovah's Witnesses did celebrate things. And then they kind of changed and moved away from celebrating holidays. And when you look into the history, it sure seems like he really only wanted to do that because he wanted to have people, not get together with their worldly family on, days that we celebrate. Because when you are with people on the outside, they might wake you up. They might tell you things. You might start to think. So the least association with the world and worldly relatives, the better. And if you're not going to partake in any of these festivities, you're not really going to see your family. to me, this is really sad because on my grandpa's side, we had a huge family. I mean, his mom was one of many children, and because she was the only one who became a Jehovah's Witness, we lost all ties. I don't even know where these people are. I don't even know who they are. Had we celebrated birthdays, I'm sure we would all be friends. And so that's kind of sad that we lost all those social connections. And I think that Rutherford really wanted to keep it. He wanted to keep the group mentality alive, the us versus them thinking, the bad association. And also he wanted people to work for the organization. He wanted people to preach on the days that were holidays. So he wanted people to sell books, because back then they were still selling books. And for him, that worked out really, really well, because now you're not celebrating holidays. Now you have days off, and he's sending all these Jehovah's Witnesses out preaching. Oh, man. It just was such a perfect little scam. It just worked out so well for him. So they removed all that. So we kind of worked through and decided that it was not a godly or spiritual decision that they had made and forbid people to celebrate birthdays. And we worked through it. We read the piñata article in the Awake. That is really helpful too, because it says the piñata used to be pagan, but it is not pagan anymore. And it really matters what it is viewed as now. I will link that article because you could use that for anything. And I do remember there were some things that really didn't make sense even as a Jehovah's Witness, because I would go to my grandpa and I said, we view things as pagan, like, oh, birthdays, the candles are pagan, but nobody thinks when they're blowing out candles that they're really getting rid of demons or something. Nobody thinks that anymore. And I said, but we as Jehovah's Witnesses, we also do things that were pagan. It's just that it's not viewed as pagan anymore. For example, wedding rings. Wedding rings have pagan origins. So the other thing is, we at the wedding, there's so many things at the wedding that we do as Jehovah's Witnesses that are totally pagan as well. The veil. The veil was supposed to hide the bride and protect her from demons. The bridesmaids, because if you think about it, the bridesmaids really have no point. It was to confuse the demons to not know which one was the bride. The cake, the cutting of the cake. And with some things they say we don't do it. Like we didn't throw rice. We were not allowed to do some things at weddings, but then other things we did do. All of it is pagan. What does pagan even really mean? And what helped me here personally was reading the Da Vinci Code. I was so excited to read it when I left because I had always burned to read that book. And a sister, she had read it and she's like, I really wouldn't recommend reading it. I feel guilty. And so I didn't. And now I was a free bird, could not wait to read the Da Vinci Code. Dan Brown, wow, what a book. I love it. And I was kind of like this journey that I was going through too, because he wrestles with the questions of religion and science all the time. He doesn't give you an answer. He just takes you on this journey. And I enjoyed that because that's what I was going through. And what this book in particular made me realize is that we were so afraid of pagan, the word pagan. Oh my gosh, this is pagan. And really, what does it even mean? Before there was Christianity, people wanted to find some sort of spirituality and wanted to find some sort of meaning. And so they started worshiping the tree and worshiping nature. And it wasn't really this bad, horrible thing. It's just they didn't have other alternatives at all. And that book helped me get through that pagan doesn't mean anything, that it is okay. I'm not hurting anyone. And then I also rectified with myself. I thought, okay, is God mad if I celebrate a birthday with my kids? Or is God mad that the organization protects pedophiles? Seriously. And I'm like, I do not think that God would care if I give my kids a present on their birthday and have a cake. So we decided we're going to do the first birthday. And it was during COVID, so we didn't have friends over, and I probably wasn't even ready for that because I wouldn't even have known how to do that, like throw a birthday party. It's because we had zero experience in this. I would throw kids parties for the kids all the time, but we didn't grow up going to other people's birthdays ever. So I didn't know the proper etiquette, and so we just kind of did it as a family. And I didn't even have candles on the cake on the first birthday. I didn't even write happy birthday. I just wrote, "You're 11 today," because it's just kind of like testing out the waters. And we got presents, and my kiddo cried. And that was really heartbreaking and I understood. It's because he wanted to do it. But at the same time, it was so overwhelming having gone through all of this. And to hear your whole life, it's wrong, it's bad, it's wrong. And he just kind of broke down and cried. And we all just felt so sad. And we rallied around him and we talked to him again. And he ended up being okay. And at the next birthday, he was pure joy. It was just that very, very first birthday. It was so weird for all of us, and I understood. And this is where talking and being kind and understanding, because my heart goes out to the kids too, how confusing it is for them to have been taught this is wrong, we don't do this, and to reach their heart and then really flip on all this stuff. And I just tried to do it very slowly with talking and with the help of a therapist too. And I think it was really effective. And every day I am so happy that we have freedom, that the kids can do simple things as like being in marching band or, playing basketball in school, applying for college, all these goofy little things. They're invited to people's birthday parties. They're such social little butterflies. Like, it's so healthy. And they didn't even have to experience this soft shunning that they weren't good enough for other kids in the congregation. They're just free. But it was a journey to get there. And it probably did affect them, and that breaks my heart. But at the end of the day, we can get through this. And so it's kind of like a journey. And tomorrow I will talk about more of living our life in the world. I'm going to talk about college, Christmas, and maybe some dating. So stay tuned.